Welcome to the Government Affairs Update for February 5th, 2021. It's been an eventful week for the Biden administration, especially in our neck of the woods. Earlier this week on Wednesday, now Secretary Pete Buttigieg for the Department of Transportation was confirmed by the Senate on a fairly bipartisan vote. Vote total was 86 to 13 with only one not voting. So he clears the Senate and is sworn in on Thursday morning by Vice President Harris, and will take up shop down at the DOT building by the waterfront. And then we had our first steps towards budget reconciliation. And to go into that in detail, we have Steve Hall, our Senior Vice President of Advocacy, to kind of cover the week's events and give us a preview of what to look forward to in Washington. So, Steve, thank you for joining us again.
Thanks, Jeff. Good to be here. Yeah, no, busy week. Congress, and as you indicated, a key milestone was getting the secretary nominee confirmed in the Senate. Good, strong bipartisan vote. His nomination was strongly supported by ACEC. We had an opportunity to meet Mayor Pete when he was a presidential candidate about a year ago this month as part of a presidential forum on infrastructure that ACEC co-hosted. And all of the candidates present, including President Biden, did exceptionally well, but I would say Mayor Pete was in many ways a standout, given his ability to articulate infrastructure in terms of what it means to local economies and bringing that mayor's perspective. So, as we've talked about before, the administration picked a good candidate to lead the infrastructure effort. And they are assembling a good team over there at USDOT to lead the sub-agencies and other functions that will figure into developing and advancing this agenda. And then, of course, as you mentioned, Congress is starting the process, the House and the Senate, of passing budget resolutions, essentially broad blueprints of spending priorities by department that is a necessary precursor to using an expedited floor procedure that is most pronounced in its effect in the Senate, known as reconciliation, which would enable the Senate and typically enables the Senate to pass budget and tax initiatives by a simple majority, as opposed to a majority of 60 votes to proceed with debate. This is how Republicans were able to do tax reform in 2017 with only Republican votes. Now, I will say, Jeff, ACEC and others in the infrastructure community continue to promote and support a bipartisan approach to this. Right now, this procedure is, I think what the administration has in mind is using this to pass a COVID-19 package to follow on to the one that was passed in December. And that's a big priority for the administration. This is something the president campaigned on. And so he rightly feels as though he's got to deliver. But he also campaigned on the importance of infrastructure and bipartisanship. And I think there seems to be a willingness on the part of Republicans to at least meet him partway, and we're hoping the two sides come together. So, the actions this week are to keep the options open to the White House and to Democratic leaders to use reconciliation. It doesn't necessarily preclude the idea that the two sides could ultimately come together on a bipartisan package. The White House is at $1.9 trillion. A group of Republicans went over earlier in the week and presented a plan that's $600 billion and change. It's pretty far apart, but you could also sort of see the contours of where a potential deal might emerge. So, like I said, we're going to continue to do what we can to promote that bipartisan deal, because I think it has resonance in the follow-on agenda, which is a much bigger infrastructure agenda.
Yeah, and moving towards reconciliation, like you said, it was the move towards a solution to the COVID-19 relief package, which is the first out of the gate, and one thing that the Biden administration is fully on board on and pushing. And this all happened around the same time as something else on Wednesday, which is important for the Senate, and that's that Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer have reached an agreement on power sharing for the structure of the Senate moving forward. And why this is important is because, we have an even split, and you need some kind of structure to allow the committee process to move forward. And we noticed, of course, at the beginning, yes, nominations were moving through the Senate, but they weren't completely, working with complete ease and efficiency. Mm-hmm. And having this agreement in place now allows the Democrats, who of course have the majority in the chamber, with the vice president having that tie-breaking vote, to run the committees and at least have a structure to move forward. And also having those Republican senators in the White House for that meeting earlier this week is still a positive sign that the Biden administration is willing to hear the counterpoint, is willing to have that conversation. Because everything we know about Biden in his history, he would rather get something done with bipartisan support than slamming something through one-sided. It just seems to be more of his style. So the Senate is essentially set.
You're right. Yeah, no, we have a functional Senate now, and a power sharing agreement, that both sides are happy with. I think they borrowed largely from the model that existed in the early days of President George W. Bush's presidency, where there was a 50-50 split in the Senate. And so they were able to draw from some precedent there. Democrats do take over as the helm of the key committees. Tom Carper of Delaware will chair the Environment and Public Works Committee, as we anticipated he would, and that's great too. He's been a great bipartisan player on that committee, and we had a sit down with him in December with Linda Bauer-Dar, our CEO, and some key leaders in the organization, just to kind of get a sense of his vision going forward at the helm of the committee. And obviously he wants a very robust program. So it's good they were able to get that done. Good there was a good strong vote on Secretary Buttigieg's nomination. And so now we plow ahead to some of the next big priorities that we need to deal with.
And we're laser focused still on PPP and the one action alert that we still have active that we encourage everyone to take a look at, which is on the federal acquisition rules, the FAR credit clause. Where do things stand there?
We're having great meetings with lawmakers on both sides of the aisle, but we do need our members to continue to weigh in on that. We'll be sending out a follow-on message to them to urge them to weigh in with their House members. This is an issue that will impact every recipient of a PPP loan that is applying for forgiveness for that loan and does work in the public sector. And we've seen the problem most pronounced in the transportation sector, which is a broad swath, as you can imagine, of our industry. So this is something that is probably going to require congressional intervention. What we're asking for really is just an exemption from this provision in the FAR that is causing the problem as it applies to the PPP program, and something very targeted in that respect. It is somewhat unique to our industry. We seem to be bearing the brunt of this problem based on the information we've been able to uncover so far. It may be others will pick up on this. It may be that we're the canary in the coal mine and the first to get a sense of it. But it is a serious issue. We'd like to see a fix included in that stimulus package that's coming down the pike. And like I said, working with both sides of the aisle and towards that fix. It's complicated. I think that's adding to the difficulty. Anytime you start talking about federal procurement policy and the FAR, there's not too many people on Capitol Hill that understand that. So we really have to boil it down to very basic terms. But we've gotten great support from the CPAs that work for our member firms. And we're working with them to try to present some examples without mentioning firm names of how this is going to impact them and to try to illustrate the inequity of this policy.
Yeah, that's a really good point you raise. This gets really technical. There aren't that many people on the Hill outside of a handful of professional staff that really understand this backwards and forwards, and even fewer members who really spend a lot of time on this. Any chance that our member firms can kind of provide a little context and real world example about why this matters and really drill it down to everyday experience, the easier it is for those members to understand it. And it's just makes it much more easier for Steve's team to be able to get up on the Hill, talk to members and staff and get that point across. So we really urge people to take advantage of the action alert, to send a member to your representative and your senators. We'll have a link to that action alert again in the show notes. So that's something that we'll continue to bird dog in the coming weeks.
Yeah, no, and Jeff, that member engagement, ACEC citizen lobbyists are really good at this, and lawmakers need to hear what this means in terms of individual firms and the money they're going to lose and the impact this means to their firm. That resonates very, very strongly with lawmakers.
Great. Well, again, it's a 2021 as it started off as a busy year, and it's going to continue to be so. Steve and his team are extremely busy. They're a nonstop shop, 24-hour operation. So doesn't mean you should bother them at 2:00 in the morning, but the sun never sets on ACEC Advocacy. So keep up the good work, and we'll look forward to the next update. Steve, thank you again for being part of the show, and have a great weekend.
Thanks, you too.
And that again has been the ACEC Government Affairs Update for February 5th, 2021. We'll see you again next time.